Marvel's strongest elementary school student. Join the chat group. Chapter 31. At that moment, Chin's mental power encountered an unprecedented impact. Buzz. Her mental power. Originally, it was like an indestructible fortress. Now it was like an ant hitting the universe. Small and powerless. Almost like a collision between an ant and a god. This metaphor couldn't be more appropriate. Chin's mental power seemed so fragile at this moment. As if it was just a thin layer of paper. Easily torn apart by Norin's mental protection mechanism. In Chin's mind, the originally clear thinking became chaotic. Her memory. Her emotions. Her reason. At this moment, they were all washed away and shattered. Her spiritual world. As if it had experienced a violent storm. Everything became shaky. Chin's face showed a painful look. Her lips trembled slightly. As if she was shouting silently. The body began to lose balance involuntarily. Psychokinesis couldn't hold on. Staggered a few steps. As if she could fall at any time. Storm, who had just taken a breath, quickly supported her. This prevented her from falling to the ground. Chin. 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 Storm shouted anxiously. However, this could not stop Chin's eyes from becoming blurred quickly. Her eyes quickly lost focus. Her soul was pulled out of her body at this moment. Her mental power collapsed under the impact of Norlin. It disappeared bit by bit in the universe. Her consciousness gradually began to blur. No, why did Faye come here to find trouble when he had nothing to do? Norlin looked at Chin speechlessly. Wouldn't it be better to use psychokinesis honestly? Faye wanted to use telepathy to control himself. This is it. Is it over? His mental power is more vast than the sea of the universe. The waves he casually raised are enough to overturn the entire Earth. Chin is overestimating her own abilities. And the situation here is not small. Many students and teachers gathered around. The most anxious one among them. Naturally, it was Cyclops who liked Jean. The moment Cyclops saw Jean lying on the ground and Norin flying in the air, he became furious. He raged and yelled, "You made Jean like this. Right. Jean. Jean." Cyclops hugged Jean. However, Jean did not react at all. She was like a vegetable. This instantly made Cyclops furious. Jean is dead. I will make you pay. The device specially used to control his powerful ability. At this moment, Cyclops directly lifted the highest limit. Boom. Boom. In an instant, two terrifying red laser beams burst out. They were like two fire dragons. With the momentum of destroying everything. Breaking through the sky. Shooting towards Norin. They cut through the sky. Leaving behind a series of fiery tracks. As if to burn the whole world to ashes. Norin was suspended in the air. Facing this sudden attack, his expression was still calm. There was no panic in his eyes. There was only indifference. Take action. Cyclops is usually very rational. However, when it comes to things like Chin, he is almost the same as Chaoshang. These two Cyclops are almost coming to kill him. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Norin's eyes were indifferent. Facing the bursting Cyclops beams. He was still as steady as a rock. There was no sign of movement. The speed of the laser beams was extremely fast. It arrived in front of Norin almost in the blink of an eye. Their power was enough to destroy all obstacles in front of them. The bursting Cyclops could easily destroy a street, and could even directly penetrate an entire city. However, at the moment when the two beams were about to touch Norin, an invisible barrier suddenly appeared around his body, completely enveloping him in it. This barrier is made of pure energy. It emits a faint light. It completely isolates the power of the laser beam. The laser beam hits the barrier. There are bursts of harsh sounds. It's like metal rubbing. It's like flames burning. However, no matter how the laser beam hits, this barrier does not move at all. It's like an indestructible wall, protecting Norin firmly in it. He has no expression on his face and snaps his fingers. In an instant, the barrier seems to have life. At that moment, Norin's energy barrier showed an amazing counterattack ability. It was no longer a passive defense, but an active attack. Like a huge amounts of net. It pushed back the red laser beam fired by Cyclops. This force was powerful and precise. It bounced the beam directly onto Cyclops' eyes. It formed an impenetrable energy barrier. Buzz. Boom. What is this? What is this? Cyclops stood up suddenly, staggering and moving. At this moment, he felt unprecedented panic. His eyes were trapped by his own laser beam. The energy barrier was like an indestructible cage. It completely blocked his vision. Impossible. What kind of power is this? This is impossible. He began to frantically scratch his face, trying to tear the barrier open with the power of his hands. But no matter how hard he tried, the energy barrier did not move at all. It seemed to be integrated with his eyes. Cannot be separated. As a mutant whose ability is completely focused on the eyes, Cyclops felt unprecedented helplessness at this moment. His ability was trapped by his own attack. His vision was completely deprived. The world fell into darkness. He is now. Except that his physical fitness is stronger than that of ordinary people. There is almost no difference. His strength, his confidence, his pride. At this moment, they were all completely defeated. Cyclops' struggle seemed so weak. His movements became more and more flustered. His breathing became more and more rapid. His heartbeat became more and more nervous. A look of pain and despair appeared on his face. His body began to tremble. As if he could collapse at any time. Impossible, this is impossible. Looking at Cyclops, who seemed to be crazy, Norrin laughed. He simply put a seal on this guy. Without his permission. It is impossible to unlock it. Compared with killing Cyclops directly. He felt that this method would be more able to torture the arrogant X-Men. The students around witnessed all this. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. In their cognition, X-Men are a symbol of strength and an invincible existence. However, in this short period of time, Norrin actually defeated 3 X-Men members in succession: Storm, Jean, and Cyclops. In their opinion, this is something that cannot happen in the world. Norrin. Countless people looked at Norrin. They also changed from not knowing who he was at the beginning to fear. People are born to fear powerful individuals. This is inevitable. And at the moment, Beast and the Professor finally rushed over. Seeing the situation in front of them, Professor X almost fainted. Jean was unconscious, Storm was exhausted, and Cyclops was kneeling on the ground with his eyes sealed and kept scratching. And Norrin was flying in the air. Professor X just used his telepathy ability to sweep by. He knew what happened. Professor. The students saw Professor X coming. All of them seemed to have a backbone. Children, leave here. Professor X suppressed his thoughts and spoke gently to the students next to him. These students calmed down involuntarily under the effect of his telepathy. Then they quickly left here. After a while, only Norrin and a few others were left here. I just found someone to deal with this matter. Why did it develop like this? Professor X sighed deeply. As someone who has felt Norrin's power, he didn't want to conflict with Norrin. Not at all. But now the conflict has already occurred. But there is no way. Norrin, I know this matter clearly. Professor X looked at Norrin and said helplessly, they are indeed impulsive, but you are also wrong in this matter, so let's take a step back and stop here, okay? Restore the piano, okay? And Cyclops. His good-natured character still couldn't let him make the most correct decision. However, his last tone was already a sigh. It was a plea. Norrin glanced at Professor X and said coldly, they deserved it. I don't think I did anything wrong in this matter. I just wanted to experience the course, but I was provoked. Storm came up to ask for accountability. After I drove him away, Jean came. Jean attacked me and was counterattacked by my self-protection mechanism. Then it was Cyclops' turn. Is this how you X-Men are? One after another. He was fearless. If Professor X in front of him wanted him to do something, then he didn't mind fighting against the entire X-Men on his own. As soon as these words came out, Storm, Beast, and Professor X, the 3 X-Men who still had their own thoughts, were all numb. Especially Storm. She seemed to want to say something. Storm undoubtedly wanted to speak. But Professor X stopped him. He shook his head silently. Since Norrin was unwilling, then he would not force it. But, he couldn't just give up Jean and Cyclops, right? Storm was really fine. Although he was the first X-Men member to fight Norrin. But he was the least injured. Oh no. Not even an injury. Just a little tired. Because he tried to break free from Norrin's restraints and used too much force, he was exhausted. Storm glared at Norrin fiercely. His eyes were very unfriendly. As if he was telling him, if Jean and Cyclops were in trouble, she would definitely make him pay the price. Norin sneered. I don't like the way you look. As he said, Norin flicked his finger lightly. A burst of energy rushed into the sky like a wild horse. In an instant, countless dark clouds began to gather, converged into a huge amount of vortex. Rumble. The sky became gloomy. Dark clouds gathered. Energy rolled in the clouds. Like a dragon soaring in the sky, emitting dazzling light. Suddenly, a thunderbolt fell from the sky. As if it was the roar of the gods, making huge amounts of noise. Stop. Nolan. Stop. Professor X hurried to stop it. Unfortunately, Nolan just glanced at Professor X. Some people get what they deserve. She did it, you can't stop her from getting it. I do what I want. Boom. Storm didn't even react. The thunderbolt hit her hard. Like a violent storm, it instantly submerged her. Her body instantly became charred black, and her hair turned into an afro. She couldn't help but open her mouth. Wisp of green smoke floated into the sky. Storm's eyes were filled with unspeakable meanings. Is this thunderbolt? Is this a storm? Nolan actually has this ability. She knew how those who were hit by her thunder felt. As soon as this thought came to her mind, Storm fell to the ground and passed out. There was still smoke coming out of her body. Professor X was terrified. He quickly apologized for her. Sorry, Nolan, we were wrong about this matter. They were wrong, and I was also wrong. Okay, I'm too lazy to listen to you. She's not dead, and she can't die. Nolan never liked good people. She was decisive, but not decisive. She did not do anything. It can be said that she was not pleasing to both sides. It was okay when they were getting along normally. Once they were indecisive on big things, problems would easily arise. Professor X also did not do well in such things. Thank you. Professor X did not feel that Storm was dead. After a sigh of relief, facing the situation in front of him, he was really at a loss. The unconscious Chin, the unconscious Storm, the Cyclops who dug his eyes, the beast who dared not speak, and the humble self. Looking around. Finally, he turned his eyes to Chin. After all, Chin was the one who was most seriously injured. Chin. Professor X tried to use telepathy to assist Chin. However, he could only feel that Chin's last trace of consciousness was like a candle in the wind and could be extinguished at any time. No. Professor X's face suddenly changed. He must keep this last trace of consciousness. Otherwise, what's the difference between Chin and death? However, his ability can't protect it at all. He can only watch Chin's consciousness completely. No. In the next second, Professor X's eyes widened. At the moment when Chin was about to die completely, an indescribable powerful force suddenly erupted from her body. This force was like a volcanic eruption. It swept the entire space in an instant. Around her, the symbol of the phoenix began to linger, representing endless power and rebirth. The phoenix rotated around Chin, emitting dazzling light, and the sky began to darken. The whole Earth, no, the whole galaxy, and even the whole universe began to tremble. The space cracked under this force, like cracks in glass, as if it was going to swallow up the whole world. This force was like a violent storm. Instantly, Cyclops and Storm were blown away. Their bodies rolled in the air, and they were shocked. Norin, who had already felt bored, also widened his eyes like Professor X. Phoenix Force. Ha 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 ha. The moment he saw Chin Phoenix Force awakening, Norin directly chose to open the live broadcast room. Phoenix Force. This is Phoenix Force. Shouldn't he record it? The live broadcast room has a screen recording function. After uploading it to the Wanji chat group, it can be saved forever. Wanji chat group. But there is no such thing as memory. You can save it as long as you want. Ding. Group member, Marvel's strongest elementary school student, starts live broadcast. Universe Overlord, enter the live broadcast room. Deadpool, enter the live broadcast room. Pot cover head leader, enter the live broadcast room. Yuki Asuna, enter the live broadcast room. Gambling Maniac, enter the live broadcast room. Yuki Asuna, meow. Gambling Maniac, why did you suddenly start the live broadcast? Is there something wrong? Norin Sama. Universe Overlord, what is this picture? The space is broken. Who is that woman? Everyone in the Wanji chat group has not reacted yet. Then he saw the scene in the live broadcast room. Jin was suspended in the air. Her long hair was flying around involuntarily because of the strong wind. Her eyes were closed, and she seemed to have no consciousness. She let the power in her body continue to erupt around her. The power was like a volcanic eruption. It instantly swept the entire space. The space began to distort. It cracked like glass fragments. Crack, crack, crack. The cracks spread in the air. It emitted a dazzling light. It seemed to swallow up the whole world. The Phoenix Force was like a storm. It instantly tore the surrounding air apart. The cracks became bigger and bigger. Deeper and deeper. Not good. Professor X roared in despair, that's the Phoenix Force in Chin's body. Charles's heart was filled with shock and uneasiness. If you want to say who knows Chin the best in the world, it must be Professor X. He discovered Chin's extraordinary power when she was very young and brought her to Xavier College. He knew that the power in Chin's body was extraordinary. It was an ancient and powerful existence. This power is like the hottest fixed star in the universe. It is both brilliant and dangerous. Although Professor X does not fully understand the nature of Phoenix Force. But he knows that once this power is activated, its destructive power is enough to make the stars tremble and the universe change color. And now, because the fire of Jean's life seems to be extinguished, this power in her body begins to erupt uncontrollably. The power is like the most violent black hole in the universe, swallowing everything and trying to pull Jean back from the brink of death. Professor X felt Jean's pain at the moment. His heart is closely connected with Jean, and he can feel the violence of that power. Beast held Professor X's wheelchair and looked at this scene in great shock. Professor, what happened? Why did Jean suddenly fly up? Professor X did not speak, but tried to stop everything that was about to happen. Only Norin, facing the violent Phoenix Force. There was still a smile on his face. Suddenly, a clattering sound came from the crack in the space. It was as if glass fragments fell to the ground. The sound was crisp and loud. A space tunnel was revealed in the crack. The space tunnel was emitting dazzling light, as if it was a road to an unknown world. The light was like a violent storm. It was you, who almost killed me. Chin slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes were covered with fiery red energy. Her voice was cold and distant. As if it came from another world. There was no anger in her tone, only a deep indifference. Those eyes no longer belonged to her, but were controlled by the ancient and powerful Phoenix Force. She slowly raised her hand. Without saying a word. An invisible force blasted towards Norin like a violent storm. Wherever the Phoenix Force passed, the space seemed to be torn apart. There was a heart-pounding sound of collapse. Norin flew in the air. He still kept a smile on his face. This is interesting. What were the previous battles? Compared to the Phoenix Force, all of them are weaker than ants. Facing Jean's attack, he was not panicked at all. Norin also raised his hand. The invisible force hit Norin in front of him. There was a deafening roar. Boom. The force did not dissipate. Instead, it instantly blasted towards the building behind Norin from both sides. In the blink of an eye. Under the impact of this force, the sturdy building was like a fragile piece of paper. It turned directly into flying ash and disappeared into the air. Professor X's pupils suddenly shrank. At the moment, most of the Xavier College was gray, which looked very scary. But fortunately, most students were playing outside at this time. Some of those who stayed in the college were basically in their dormitories. The dormitory building was not attacked. So there were no casualties. No, if this continues, Xavier, no, even the Earth, will suffer. Professor X quickly began to use his ability. He wanted to guide Jean. His telepathy ability made him feel the confusion and pain in Jean's heart. He knew that Jean was no longer the girl he knew. She was controlled by Phoenix Force, and her mind was twisted by this force. Professor X was full of worries. He knew that if he couldn't find a way to help Jean recover as soon as possible, she might lose her humanity forever. The consequences were disastrous. No, it's still not strong enough. However, this kind of attack. But it disappointed Norin. Phoenix Force hasn't been fully used yet. That would be so boring. Just when Phoenix Force was about to devour Norin, he exerted force suddenly. A powerful energy emerged from his palm. This energy was like a bright star, instantly forcing Phoenix Force back. The originally violent power, under Norin's control, turned around like a tamed beast, and hit Jean fiercely. Boom. In an instant, Jean was like being hit by a giant hammer and flew high. Her figure drew a long arc in the air. She flew backwards for thousands of meters. She crashed into a large lake. She splashed more than 10 feet of water. Splash. The waves on the lake spread like ripples, breaking the original tranquility. Chin, Professor X and Beast were very worried. Nolan glanced at the two of them. Wait here. After saying that, he instantly flew over the lake. On the lake that had already returned to tranquility. The originally calm water surface suddenly became restless again. The water in the center of the lake began to boil. It seemed that an invisible force was brewing in the depths. Soon, rolling waves appeared on the water surface, surging, and spreading around one after another. Nolan watched this scene silently. His eyes looked through the lake and stared at the bottom of the water. Suddenly, in the next second, the water surface in the center of the lake exploded. And a figure flew out of it. It was Chin. Countless water splashes were rushed into the sky by her power. These water splashes bloomed in the air, they rolled and jumped in the air like fireworks, they sparkled with crystal light under the sunlight, so beautiful that it was breathtaking. She stopped steadily in the air, facing Nuo Lin from a distance. The eyes of the two met in the air. Chin's eyes were still so ruthless and indifferent, even if she was attacked, she was still the same. Swish. Nuo Lin disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he was already behind Chin. I saw Nuo Lin gather a burst of energy in his right hand and punched hard. Bang! The fist burst out a strong energy light on Chin's face, instantly blasting the surrounding space into pieces. This time, Chin had no way to react at all. She could only passively use Phoenix Force to bear it. Bang! Chin was under this punch. Directly blasted away for dozens of kilometers again, flew directly to the wild ridge near Xavier College. Smashed hard on a mountain. Knocked a big hole in the top of the mountain. Chin, who originally looked very handsome, now became dusty and a little embarrassed. Let's do it again. Nolan's excited voice sounded in his ears. Phoenix Force. Chin didn't care about the dirty body. Fly out of the hole immediately. Shouted. Opened his hands. Boom. Boom. The terrifying and huge psychokinesis instantly spread out like a big net. Reaching 10,000 meters in the sky. Going down 1,000 meters underground. The ground hummed and shook like an earthquake. Crash. In the blink of an eye, psychokinesis was used to forcibly pull up two mountains with an altitude of 1,000 meters from the flat ground, revealing the abyss below. The broken stones fell. They all bombarded Nolan. At the moment, Norin was like the filling of a pancake, sandwiched in the middle. Gambling maniac. So why did they fight? Deadpool. Wow, it's exciting. No matter what, this kind of battle is so exciting to watch, even better than the movie. Yuki Asuna. This sister is so strong. Universe Overlord. What a great battle. Super Saiyan. I want to join in. This was a battle that had already surpassed their imagination. Although the destructive power was not as direct and shocking as the previous battles. But the level of this battle was completely different. It touched the essence of space. It was almost equivalent to touching the boundary of their cognition. Space, that stable and solid existence on weekdays. But it became fragile in this battle. Every fight, every collision of power. It was like a heavy hammer hitting glass. The space was broken. The cracks spread like a spider web. This scene. For everyone in the group, it was an unprecedented shock. They remembered the last battle between Boros and Sun Wukong. Although it was extremely fierce. But the space remained intact. That battle was a contest of strength and speed, a collision of skills and will. But space was not substantially affected. At this moment, this battle was different. It was not just a confrontation, but also a challenge to the laws of space. Nolan just waved his hand back. There was no surprise. A dazzling white light flashed. A violent explosion sounded. Dust was flying. It was like a different kind of firework. The mountain was directly blasted into pieces of rubble, which scattered in the air. Bang. Rumble. Gambling maniac. Hiss. Yuki Asuna. Hiss. Another mountain. It hit him hard. However, it was like hitting the hardest thing in the world. It broke apart inch by inch and fell to the ground. Norin opened his hands, and terrifying energy burst out from his body. It was a power beyond the understanding of ordinary people. It was not only a physical impact, but also a direct destruction of the space structure. With the explosion of energy, the space began to shatter inch by inch. The space fragments flew like glass splash. These fragments were under the control of Norin. He did not lose control. I saw Norin's hands tightening. The space fragments were quickly gathered by him. Then, the blood condensed into a long sword several meters long. This long sword was made of space fragments, and every inch of it flashed with dangerous light. It contained the power to tear everything apart. In an instant, Norin threw the long sword. Swish! Wherever the long sword passed, the space was torn apart, leaving a long crack. The crack was like an abyss, constantly swallowing everything around. Chin quickly raised her hand, Phoenix force gushed out. Boom! The moment the two collided, half of the Earth's sky was torn apart. The cracks in the sky burst out like a spider web. Countless people raised their heads. They looked at the wonders in the sky in horror, their eyes full of fear and anxiety. Is the end of the world coming? This question echoed in everyone's heart. They couldn't believe what they saw. They couldn't understand the source of this power. They could only watch the cracks in the sky continue to expand. Professor X and Beast in the distance. They were stunned. Does this kind of power really exist? They both knew it very well. The ones fighting were Norin and Chin. The sky is about to fall down. Professor X's lips trembled slightly. Beast was also shocked beyond words. Is this the level that humans can reach? It's too outrageous. Similarly, there were also countless mutants who began to look for what happened. Among them was the boss of Mutant Brotherhood, Magneto. In the direction of Xavier College. Magneto was also slightly shocked. Even though he was well informed, he had never seen such a scene. It seems that there is a powerful mutant in Xavier Academy. Mystique looked at Magneto and said slowly, it seems that he has just joined not long ago. Magneto smiled knowingly. This young mutant who has just joined Xavier Academy is the easiest to be induced. Isn't it? In addition, the politicians of various countries are also extremely. The perspective turns back to the battlefield. Ah! Chin's eyes glared, clenched his teeth, and his veins bulged because of the burst of power. Phoenix force continued to gush and increase. Finally, the long sword condensed by space fragments could not withstand the huge amounts of pressure and exploded. At this moment, it seemed as if the entire universe was trembling, and the sky of half of the Earth was also on the verge of its limit at this moment. The space structure began to collapse, and the cracks spread rapidly like a spider web. Space debris fell like raindrops, flying in the air, making the already shocked people on Earth even more at a loss. Fortunately, the space had the ability to self-heal, and it was restored in the next moment. However, the space was still shaking. It seemed that if it was attacked again, it would cause irreversible consequences. Norin knew it. So, he quickly opened a space crack and moved to Chin's side in an instant. While Chin hadn't reacted yet, he kicked her into the space crack. Then, he also entered it. The space crack closed quickly. Move the battlefield. Gambling maniac. Hiss. Yuki Asuna. Is this a battle between gods? Pothead leader. Those things that were shattered just now were all space, right? My super ability is to have money. Everyone in the group was shocked. But Batman Bruce was different. The moment he saw the live broadcast, he began to think, if these two people appeared in his world, then how would he deal with it? The final result was, it can't be dealt with. Superman can still use kryptonite. But I don't know the two people in front of me at all. I don't know their weaknesses. Quote. It is said that you cannot challenge Batman and Bruce Wayne to a fight. But that also requires Bruce to find a weakness. Then he can find a way to hit the weakness during the fight. Just like challenging Superman. It is very well prepared. Everyone says DC is bullshit, how could Superman be defeated by an ordinary person like Batman? But is there a possibility? Bruce took advantage of Superman's mentality that he would not be ruthless to him. That's how he could defeat him. If Superman hadn't said his mother's name in the end, he might really have died in Bruce's hands. No, I must observe carefully in the future. On the other side, this is a different time and space. Everything is shrouded in an extraordinary beauty and danger. The surrounding light is as dazzling as stardust. They flicker in the void of the universe. It's like countless tiny fixed stars burning in the dark. These lights do not come from any living light source. But they come from the characteristics of this time and space originally. They are the soul of this extreme universe. It is the light of life in this lifeless realm. Countless lifeless planets are floating in this space and time. They are like lonely travelers, drifting aimlessly in the ocean of the universe. These planets are of different sizes and shapes. Some are like huge amounts of rocks, with cracks and holes all over the surface. Others are like cold metal spheres, reflecting the cold light of the surrounding light. They move slowly in space and time, as if being pulled by some invisible force, and as if following some cosmic law. Often, these planets will collide with each other. There will be a very terrifying explosion. Each collision is like a grand firework show in the universe. The energy waves generated by the explosion spread instantly, swallowing the surrounding light, forming huge amounts of energy vortices. These vortices rotate in space and time, releasing shocking energy. Bang! This is such a space and time. But a space crack was suddenly opened. A figure burst out from it and hit a huge metal planet fiercely, instantly turning the metal planet into cosmic garbage. Then, another figure flew out from the space crack. It was Nolan. He looked at Chin still flying in this universe. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. In this extremely lifeless universe, time and space seem to have lost their meaning. There are no signs of life here, no traces of civilization, only endless nothingness and eternal silence. However, it is this extreme environment. It is very consistent with what he wants in his heart. It is what he wants. Buzz. Chin is the host of Phoenix Force. Now her body is controlled by Phoenix Force. It is not covered. Quickly adjust her body and look at Nolan fiercely. Arrogant child. Here, she also burst out all her current strength. Boom. A deafening roar echoed in the silent universe. It was as if the heartbeat of the universe was ruthlessly struck at this moment. A phoenix symbol suddenly burst out of Jean Grey's body. The terrifying fiery red energy was like a violent wave. With her as the center, it exploded instantly, releasing suffocating energy. This energy was like the wrath of the universe. It constantly surged in all directions. Its waves continued to expand, and continued to expand. From lonely planets, to complete planetary systems, to the huge fixed star system. Its power is all-encompassing and indestructible. Everything in the surrounding starry sky, whether it is a hard planet or floating space debris, it is instantly annihilated into powder and turned into cosmic dust under the impact of this energy. Have you finally exploded your strongest power at present? Norin looked at the scene in front of him that seemed like the end of the universe. Instead, he burst into a very rampant laugh. He is not afraid. He is not afraid of anything. You know, he can be considered an omnipotent god. Galaxy, countless stars, universe, unfolds from his feet, and they are like children's toys to him. When the heroes of the Earth sacrificed themselves to defeat Onslaught, Franklin subconsciously sent the Avengers and other superheroes to the pocket universe counter-Earth he created. Reborn in a new reality. In order to escape the fact that his parents died. Use the humanoid to project the false core of all realities and create countless realities out of thin air. It is this terrifying ability. It makes Norin feel boring all the time. This is just a childhood. The adult Franklin was judged by the gods to be beyond the Omega level, and was called the shaper of the universe and the constant danger of the galaxy. Would he be afraid of this? What a joke. Shua. Norin laughed. Against the deep background of the universe, Norin's body began an amazing transformation. His body was wrapped in a layer of light blue barrier. This barrier was like the hardest shield in the universe, preventing the Phoenix Force from invading him at all. Then, the blue barrier on his body continued to twist and condense. It quickly turned into an enlarged version of the giant Norin. His body grew bigger, 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 bigger at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, it was even bigger than the galaxy. The transparent blue body looked extremely spectacular in the universe, as if it had become a part of the universe, standing shoulder to shoulder with the stars. Each muscle contained enough power to shake the stars. The skin became as hard as a star as it expanded, emitting a faint light, as if it was condensed from countless stars. The eyes were like two bright fixed stars, flashing the light of wisdom and power. The hair fluttered in the wind of the universe, and each strand of hair seemed like a meteor, streaking through the dark space of the universe. Hit me hard. Norin clenched his fist and smashed it hard at where Chin was. Chin's body seemed so small in front of his fist that it was not even as big as a grain of sand. Boom. A loud bang of boom. It was like the heartbeat of the universe. It shook the entire galaxy. The power of this blow was so terrible that an extremely violent sound was heard in the universe. The sound went beyond the normal sound waves and was a vibration of the level universe. It passed through the stars, the black holes, and the boundaries of time. Endless waves rolled in the universe. Phoenix Force spread out wave after wave like the pulsation of the universe. Under the impact of Norin, Phoenix Force made a sharp sound, sharp and piercing, as if it was the wail of the universe. Boom. The next moment, the spatial structure of the universe was damaged in the battle between the two. A space rift that spanned the entire galaxy was blown open. Whether it was a black hole or other cosmic wonders, they were all destroyed. The rift was like a wound in the universe, revealing a deep and mysterious void. A strange light flickered on the edge, which was the energy released after the space was torn apart. They jumped in the darkness like sparks in the universe. However, soon, the rift was restored to its original state. Only the dense cracks in the space showed how hard the universe had just suffered. His power is too strong. Phoenix Force felt unparalleled pressure. As a power that existed at the beginning of the universe, it has never felt such a strong sense of oppression. But, under adversity, only then can it burst out a more terrifying and beyond limit power. The next moment, its flame, under Nolan's fist, was like a flame poured with gasoline, and instantly burst out with even hotter energy. This force expanded rapidly with the momentum of a prairie fire, pushing Nolan's fist away, and his body staggered backwards. The flame of Phoenix Force reached an unprecedented height at this moment. Its light illuminated the surrounding stars. It dyed the dark space red. Nolan stabilized his body and stared at the scene in front of him. The flame turned into a fire phoenix in front of him, and the flame illuminated his transparent blue body red. Its shape was elegant and majestic, and each feather seemed to be made of the purest flame, flashing with dazzling light. Cry. The fire phoenix spread its wings in the universe. It made a loud sound that resounded throughout the universe. Every time it flapped its wings, it brought a storm in the universe and cut through the trajectory of the stars. The real battle begins now. In the Wanji chat group. On the screens of the group members. No, it should be in front of them. A function of the live broadcast room. It is to be immersed in the scene. The battle scene between Norin and Phoenix is like an epic of the universe. It shakes everyone's heart. Their eyes are fixed on this universe. The shock in their hearts cannot be described in words. The scale of this battle has far exceeded their imagination. A giant of the galaxy level. It once existed only in fantasy. But now it is vividly presented in front of them. The expressions of the group members also changed from surprise to awe. Then to complete silence. They looked at Norin's huge body. Feeling the blazing flames of Phoenix Force. It was as if they saw the advent of gods. In front of this battle, they undoubtedly felt their own insignificance more deeply. Is this true? The voice of a group member sounded in the chat group. With unbelievable trembling. It was Yuki Asuna. 303. A giant of the size of a galaxy file. This is simply a myth among myths. Another group member responded. His words were full of awe and hidden fear. It was Bruce Wayne. Nolan's power, the flame of Phoenix, this has completely surpassed our cognition. Another group member said. Her voice revealed a deep shock. A blush appeared on Jabami Yumeko's face. Excited. Unimaginable excitement. Tense and exciting. Gambling. What does gambling count for in such a battle? There was silence in the chat group. The group members were digesting everything they saw. They knew that this scene would become the most profound picture in their memory. For a long, long time in the future. Nothing else could appear. The Fire Phoenix was extremely huge. However, Nolan was not to be outdone. While the Phoenix Force was still showing off, he stretched out his hand directly. The transparent big hand was like the hand of God. He reached out to the side and actually grabbed a galaxy, turned it into a star disk, and smashed it hard at Phoenix Force. Bang! The Phoenix Force howled in pain. The head was hit and fell to one side. Their powers intertwined. An unprecedented energy storm formed on the star disk held by Norin. The power of this storm was extremely terrible. So much so that the entire galaxy began to disintegrate under its influence. The fixed stars, planets, black holes, and all celestial bodies in the galaxy gradually lost their original forms in this energy storm. Their light was swallowed up. The matter was torn apart. Finally, it turned into countless stars. Like the smallest dust in the night sky. Slowly dissipated in the abyss of the universe. These stars. It is the last trace of the galaxy. They flickered faintly in the background of the universe. As if telling the glory that once existed. Soon they drifted away with the wind, blended into the endless darkness, and became an eternal part of the universe. Cry. Phoenix Force made another sharp cry. The sound waves vibrated and spread to the edge of the universe, and all the planets on the path exploded. It flapped its wings and flew away. Swish. The energy that was released alone was so large that it could not be seen how many light years away, destroying several galaxies as large as the Milky Way. Buzz. Buzz. Buzz 1. On Norin's transparent blue skin, ripples appeared. He raised his hand involuntarily, trying to block the sound waves. However, Norin's huge body resonated continuously due to the vibration of the sound waves. On his skin, cracks spread rapidly like the faintest lightning in the night sky. These cracks were densely packed. Like a spider web. They quickly covered his whole body. From the soles of his feet to the top of his head, they were everywhere. Crack. 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 The cracks spread at an astonishing speed. They intertwined into a broken picture on Norin's body. Bang. 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 Then, there was a loud bang. Norin's body exploded. Countless fragments were like a meteor shower. Exploded in all directions. These fragments carry huge amounts of energy. They streaked across the universe. Affected dozens of galaxies. In front of this destructive force, galaxies were like fragile glass. They were easily shattered. Fixed stars went out, planets collapsed, black holes annihilated. Everything was annihilated under the impact of this force and turned into cosmic dust. The attack of Phoenix Force is not limited to this. These sound waves are not just physical vibrations. They also contain the power of rules of the universe. This the power of rules. Like the Weaver Girl of Time. Weaving the cycle of life on Norin's body. Norin's body. Under the influence of this the power of rules. Began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. His appearance quickly changed from a child's appearance. To a teenager. Then to a young man. Then to middle age. Finally to old age. His skin was loose. Wrinkles were deeply engraved. His hair turned gray. As if he had experienced countless years of baptism. Nolan looked at his old hands. But he was not panicked. The power of time. This change did not stop there. Nolan's body began to reverse again. From old age to middle age, youth, and teenager. Finally, he even turned into a baby. His body was constantly shrinking. His skin became smooth, and his eyes revealed a pure light. It was as if he had returned to the starting point of life. This phenomenon of constantly changing from several stages of life made Nolan's body almost a witness to the passage of time. Every change of his is like a reincarnation of life. The power of time. Who doesn't have it? Nolan watched his wrinkled hands turn into a childish look. He wanted to speak. But all that came out of his mouth was babbling. Then, he patted his head, and a layer of protective film quickly covered his whole body. Soon, he turned back to his original appearance. No, not the original appearance. But a young man, just like when he went to the Demon Slayer world. Then fight. Against the deep background of the universe. Nolan and Phoenix's fierce battle started completely. Every time they fought, it was a fight between the gods of the universe. From the distortion of the rules of space to the crossing of the rules of time. Their battle was like that of gods. The figures kept shuttling between galaxies. It was much faster than the speed of light. Every appearance was accompanied by the fluctuation of the rules, representing a kind of the confrontation of the rules. Space twisted in front of them. Time flowed under their feet. Boom. 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 The galaxies exploded like cosmic fireworks in the aftermath of their battle. The destruction of these galaxies shone in the darkness of the universe, like the most gorgeous fireworks in the world. Beautiful and short-lived. In just a moment. Most of this entire space and time has been destroyed. The destruction of galaxies is not just the disappearance of the material level. It is more like a reshaping of the order of the universe. The universe is like a picture that has been painted over, leaving countless blanks and unknowns. In the chat group of the 10,000 Worlds, the group members witnessed the battle throughout. Oh my god. The little was stunned. Are Norin and I really in the same world? Does my world really have such a mutant? Didn't you see it just now? It's the picture on Earth just now. Quote. Yuki Asuna glanced at Xiao Zhangjian. Xiao Zhangjian swallowed hard. I see. Then it must be 5.1, right? Jabami Yumeko said. Since you can see it, it means it is the same world, the same Earth. Quote. I'm sweating a lot. Xiao Zhangjian wiped the cold sweat from his head. You know. When I first joined the group, I seemed to have done some strange things. It made Nolan unhappy. I don't know if he forgot. If he forgot, it's okay. If he didn't forget. Xiao Zhangjian felt itchy on his body. It's over. Besides. Not to mention the rest of the group members. All of them were speechless. The battle between rules. Outrageous. It can't be described in words. The battle between the two continued. Norin's fist was as heavy as the universe. Each blow could tear apart space. Created black holes of infinite file size. Devoured everything around. His steps were like the waves of the river of time. Each move could travel through time and space. Appeared behind Phoenix and dealt a fatal blow. Phoenix Force relied on her almost infinite energy. Each counterattack was like the rebirth of a phoenix. Burning the flame of life. Phoenix Force's eyes flashed with an unyielding light. Each flap of wings could release a destructive energy wave, turning galaxies into dust. The figure was like the only existence in the universe. Each rotation could distort time. Make Norin's attack vanish. It's so good, so good, so good. Norin's fight was so enjoyable. Countless rules were like strands of lines. They kept interweaving and colliding in the universe. Some of these rule lines were shining, and some were dim. They interweave intricate patterns on the stage of the universe. Every collision stirs up ripples of rules, pushing the entire space-time to the edge of the unknown. Space-time flows backwards, and matter disappears. At this moment, the order of the universe is completely overturned. Time is no longer a linear flow. Instead, it rotates like a vortex. The past and the future are intertwined at this moment, forming an unpredictable maze. Matter changes in the chaos of rules. Atoms and molecules decompose and recombine under the impact of rules, forming a new form of existence. The sky becomes the ground. The ground becomes the sky. The universe is upside down, and the concept of space is completely overturned. Stars fall in the sky, as gorgeous as a meteor shower. And countless galaxies rise from the ground. They are born in the chaos of rules, and die in the chaos of rules. Metal becomes paper, and thin pieces become stones. The essence of matter is redefined at this moment. They constantly change their forms in the interweaving of rules, forming a new state of matter. This kind of battle is interesting. What are the previous battles? Nolan said this. Boros, who was watching the battle, had a cold sweat on his forehead. Good guy. Isn't this poking at his heart? What a pity. Nolan was too lazy to care about other people's thoughts. Now he was so happy because of the hearty battle. Even if he still didn't use his full strength. But being able to play a little was enough for him to feel the joy of fighting. Ha 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 ha. Nolan's laughter and movements were particularly eye-catching. His right hand slowly opened, as if silently summoning something. With his movements, strange changes began to appear in the surrounding starry sky. Tiny stardust, as if being pulled by some invisible force, began to gather from all directions. These stardust flickered faintly in the dark universe. They gathered quickly above Nolan's palm. A rotating star disk was formed. The formation process of this star disk was extremely fast. Almost in the blink of an eye. A miniature universe composed of countless stardust was born in Norin's hands. Inside the star disk, the planet revolved around the fixed star. The fixed star exuded warm light. Countless galaxies flickered at the edge of the star disk. It formed a complete picture of the universe. Although this star disk is small in size, it contains all the mysteries of the universe. It is a miniature of the universe. Norin's palm gently supported the star disk, and his eyes revealed a hint of excitement. Then, his right hand clenched into a fist. Condensed the power of the entire universe in this fist. With his movements, the miniature universe composed of countless stardust was tightly squeezed in his fist. The planet, fixed star, and galaxy inside the star disk seemed to solidify at this moment. They gathered into an irresistible force in Norin's fist. A crazy smile appeared on Norin's face. His eyes flashed with a desire for power and excitement for the challenge. He swung his right fist violently. He smashed towards Phoenix Force, while roaring, Cosmic Explosion Fist. This punch. It seemed to contain the energy of the entire universe. Its speed was so fast that it exceeded the speed of light and the concept of speed. Space was twisted in front of it, and time stopped under its feet. The universe inside the star disk burst into dazzling light at this moment. Planets, fixed stars, and galaxies were instantly integrated under the power of this punch. A huge amount of energy ball was formed. This energy ball rotated in Norin's fist. Releases a destructive energy wave. The power of this punch is enough to shake the foundation of the entire universe. Cry. Phoenix Force obviously felt the threat of this punch. It let out a loud cry. The light of its body became even hotter at this moment. It seemed to swallow up the entire universe. However, Norin's Cosmic Explosion Fist has arrived. The two powerful forces collided at this moment, causing ripples in the universe. Big Bang. Nolan's punch. It was like the Big Bang reappeared. Carrying endless energy and destructive power. It hit Phoenix Force directly in the face. As the fist fell, a dazzling light burst out in the universe, dispelling all the darkness. Boom. 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 Waves of aftermath spread from the collision point to the surroundings. They were like ripples in the universe. Wherever they went, the galaxy was destroyed, the universe collapsed. The fixed star went out in the aftermath, the planet was shattered in the aftermath, and the galaxy disintegrated in the aftermath. The entire universe began to vibrate. As the aftermath spread, the dazzling light converged. The entire universe actually began to dissipate. The boundaries of the universe became blurred. The structure of time and space began to disintegrate. The existence of the universe seemed to be wiped out. Only endless nothingness was left. The universe, the end. At the moment, the members of the Wanji chat group were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Not shocked, but numb. Anyone who saw a man holding the universe and punching out with a big bang punch would be shocked to the point of numbness. One after another, ability and powerful strength. It has completely transcended their thinking. It made their brains crash. Jabami Yumeko's legs were even shaking. The blush on her face was very obvious. She held her face with both hands. Her calves were shaking slightly. It seems, becoming a servant, isn't that bad. With the annihilation of the universe, Norin and Phoenix Force were instantly exposed outside the universe. Their figures crossed the boundaries of time and space. Appeared in an unknown area. In this area, there are no stars, no light. There is only endless darkness and nothingness. Norin and Phoenix Force were also exposed outside the universe. Their figures crossed the boundaries of time and space. Appeared in an unknown area. In this area, there are no stars, no light. There is only endless darkness and nothingness. Norin and Phoenix Force were also exposed outside the universe. Their figures crossed the boundaries of time and space. Appeared in an unknown area. In this area, there are no stars, no light. There is only endless darkness and nothingness. Force became the only existence in this new realm. Their figures seemed particularly lonely and insignificant in the darkness. Is this outside the universe? Norin knew. This is the gap between universes. Every universe in the multi-universe is connected. He blew up a universe. Then naturally there was a dark space in the multi-universe. In fact, they were now in the gap between the multi-universe. The power of the Phoenix Force has dissipated. The blazing flames that once surrounded Jean Grey now no longer exist. Her figure, like a light feather, floating in the gap between the boundless universe. Without the protection of the Phoenix Force, Jean Grey seemed particularly fragile. Her figure was extremely lonely and insignificant in the darkness of the universe. The core of the Phoenix Force. It is the Phoenix Nirvana. This time the flames. It is more terrifying than before. Each wisp of flame seems to have its own life. They dance and burn in the universe, as if to turn all obstacles into ashes. Chin's figure became taller in the flames, feeling the powerful force in her body. Her eyes were full of confidence. However, a smile appeared on Norin's face. Fists opened. Two star discs, two universes rose again. Rushed directly up. Another punch. Since one universe explosion is not enough. Then two. Two are not enough. Then three. Right. Bang. 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 Phoenix Force was instantly stunned. With his unparalleled strength and speed, Norin launched a fierce attack on Phoenix Force. Every punch was accompanied by a deafening bang. 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 It was as if the pulse of the universe was being hit hard at this moment. Each punch of Norin contained a universe. And it was the power of the Big Bang. His movements were as fast as a phantom. Every punch hit Phoenix Force accurately in the face. Phoenix Force. Once majestic and in control of the most powerful force in the universe, it seemed so helpless at this moment. It didn't even have time to react. The power that had just been condensed was dispersed again under Norin's continuous heavy blows. One punch after another. Phoenix Force was beaten to a pulp. Its eyes were dull and its expression was dull. It seemed to have lost all consciousness and resistance ability. Its head was tossed to and fro in Norin's fist wind. Every heavy blow made it lose balance. It was even more unable to concentrate its strength to fight back. The last shot. Compared with the fierce duel before, Nolan's boxing skills now seemed unusually plain and simple. His movements were no longer gorgeous. No longer full of dazzling energy fluctuations. Instead, it returned to the purest essence of boxing. Every punch was as simple and direct as a street fight. But Nolan's hands condensed the power of the universe. Every punch seemed to be detonating a miniature universe. These fists. Although 593 seemed ordinary, every punch could shake the stars and tear the void. His fist style. Like the breath of the universe. Every punch made everything around tremble. In the chat group of all worlds, the group members witnessed this scene. If it weren't for the universe condensed in Nolan's hands, what he threw were all the Big Bang punches. It was really like a street fight. It can only be said that the battle was to the end. It was all back to nature. Even this return to nature is outrageous enough for the members of the Wanji chat group. Norin's wild laughter echoed in the dark space and time. He raised his hands slowly. His 10 fingers spread out, as if calling for the ultimate power of the universe. Countless micro-universes emerged at his fingertips. They were arranged in this dark space and time like the starry sky, extremely gorgeous. These micro-universes. Each one contains endless energy and the mystery of life. Under Norin's control, they flickered like stars, illuminating this dark space and time. Norin's hands are like the brush of the universe, weaving these micro-universes into a magnificent starry sky picture. Then, his hands began to close. These micro-universes are under his control. Like stars pulled by gravity. Slowly gathered in his hands. Each micro-universe is integrated in his hands. Gathered into an unparalleled force. There was a gleam in Norin's eyes. As his hands were completely closed. All the micro-universes were contained in his hands. Gathered into a huge amount of energy ball. This energy ball contained the ultimate power of multi-universe. Enough to tear everything apart and reshape the universe. Norin held the energy ball tightly in both hands. His body leaned back slightly, prepared to throw this decisive punch. The last blow. His crazy voice echoed in the universe. His body was as tight as a bowstring. Then he swung forward suddenly. This punch cut through the dark time and space, going straight to Phoenix Force. Wherever the fist wind reached, the stars trembled and time and space were distorted. Phoenix Force seemed extremely fragile under the impact of this force. Cry. An unprecedented emotion rose in the heart of Phoenix Force, fear. This fear did not come from physical threats, but from the fear of the unknown. Awe of Norin's unpredictable power. Norin's last blow. The power of countless micro-universes was condensed, making Phoenix Force feel unprecedented pressure. It realized. This attack was not just a confrontation. It was more likely to directly wipe out its existence. Phoenix Force's body trembled in the wind of Norin's fist. Its light became dim under Norin's fist. An unprecedented sense of powerlessness rose. This feeling made it full of uneasiness. Fear and uneasiness. Like a shadow in the darkness, it gradually spread in the heart of Phoenix Force. It began to doubt its own strength, questioned its own existence. The emergence of this emotion plunged Phoenix Force into unprecedented chaos and struggle. It was clearly an intangible existence. At the moment, there seemed to be a trace of pain on her face. Unbelievable. Unbelievable at all. As Phoenix Force faded, Chin's body was revealed. Her eyes were closed. It seemed that there was no breath of life. However, Norin knew. Things would never be so simple. Just when everything seemed to be about to return to nothingness, a trace of seeds-like flames quietly sprouted in Chin's body. Although this flame was weak, but it contained the essence of Phoenix Force. They were the seeds of Phoenix Force, ACBH, a symbol of its immortality. These flames slowly wandered in Chin's body. It seemed to be looking for a path to recovery and healing. Jean's body, at this moment, became the new place of the Phoenix calendar. Every cell of her, every drop of blood, all nourished by these flames, began to slowly recover vitality. The seeds of Phoenix Force took root in Jean's body. They began to absorb the surrounding energy and began to repair the damaged parts. However, it would take a long time to recover. Now, that's out of the question. Norin is now physically and mentally relaxed. This is the first time he has had such a good fight. He instantly moved to Jean's side, grabbed him. He casually opened the space crack and threw him back. Above the earth, a sudden space crack was like a blade that tore through reality. It suddenly appeared in the blue sky. This crack distorted time and space. A figure fell from it. The speed was getting faster and faster, like a meteor streaking through the starry sky. It rushed straight to the ground with unstoppable momentum. Xavier Academy for Gifted Youth. Professor X and Beast had just taken the unconscious Storm to treatment. Moreover, all the students in Xavier College were temporarily arranged to a safe basement. But they saw in the air. That figure fell from the space crack. The speed was so fast that it drew a blurred track in the air. Professor X and Beast were attracted by this sudden scene. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. What is that? Go, Professor. With his strong physical fitness, Beast grabbed Professor X's wheelchair and rushed to the side to avoid the impact. Boom. Bang. With a deafening roar, the figure fell heavily on the open space of the college. In an instant, dust flew and stones splashed. A huge amount of pits formed at the impact point. Shockwaves spread like ripples. The surrounding grass and trees were shaken to the point of collapse. Beast covered Professor X and endured the scratches of the gravel. Both of them were shocked by this sudden change. Their bodies were stiff, and their eyes were full of panic. Quick, see what it is. Professor X spoke immediately. Beast helped him up, looking at the center of the impact point. As the dust gradually dissipated, the outline of the figure gradually became clear. Professor X and Beast approached the pit carefully. Seeing her, he couldn't help but widen his eyes. It's Jean. Go and see what's going on. Professor X hurriedly said. Don't worry about me, Beast, don't worry about me. Oh, okay. Beast also knew that this was not the time to be pretentious. He immediately put Professor X down and ran towards the middle of the pit. It was Jean. He touched his nose. Beast's expression suddenly changed, looked at Professor X, and shook his head. Professor X's expression also changed. Fortunately, Cyclops was not there at the moment. After being comforted by them, he went to the basement to take care of the children. Otherwise, he would definitely rage. Where's Norin? Where is Norin? Professor X looked up. As expected, Norin's figure followed. Jin is dead. Beast looked at Norin, his eyes full of grief and anger. Not dead. Nolan glanced at Beast. Fortunately, this guy didn't come up to die. Otherwise, he still had the aftermath of the battle and didn't mind giving Beast a slap. And Nolan's slap. That only means that if Beast can withstand it, it means that he can easily withstand the Big Bang. Not dead. Impossible. She is definitely dead. Beast shook his head violently. After he mutated, his strength and 5 senses have all improved. Not to mention that he has touched her breath with his own hands. Even if he hasn't touched it, he can still hear it. Chin's heart is not beating. No breath. The heart is not beating. This is not death. What is it? With Phoenix Force, he can't die. Nolan said he was too lazy to spray. After that, he didn't care about Beast and Professor X. He raised his right hand lightly, as if it was the baton of the universe, and the calendar of time jumped at his fingertips. Teaching building and dormitory building. The building that had just been destroyed by the aftermath of the battle. Now it was like a painting that had been injected with life. It began to slowly move backwards. The broken bricks and stones reunited. The broken steel bars rejoined. The cracks were smoothed as if by magic. Everything returned to its original state at an incredible speed. On the ground, the traces of the fierce battle. Whether it was gravel, dust or blood. All disappeared without a trace in the reversal of time. The power of Norin. It was like the most powerful cleanser in nature. It removed all the discordant elements from the environment. Only tranquility and cleanliness were left. Professor X and Beast witnessed the scene. Their faces were full of shock. This is time reversal. The power of time. They did not see the battle between Norin and Chin just now. Therefore, they did not know that he had this trick. They did not know that Norin and Chin were fighting. Time was just the most basic means of attack. All this. It seemed like a dream. A dream that made them unbelievable. However, the reality is so clear. So real. That is, at the moment. Chin suddenly made a sound. It was the sound of breathing. She was really alive. Beast immediately rushed to Chin and helped her up. Chin was still in a coma. Frowning. It seemed that she was having a nightmare. However, her breathing had recovered. Her heart was beating. Ha! Norin yawned. He was still a little baby. Just finished. Need to take a rest. Fly to his dormitory and fall on the bed. Then he looked at the Wanji chat group. Well, the recording was successful. He nodded with satisfaction. Then he uploaded the recorded video to the group file. He wanted to keep this thing for a long time in the future. There are few opportunities to encounter this level of battle. At least in the Wanji chat group. Marvel's strongest elementary school student. Oh, sorry to bother you, I'll start a live broadcast to record a video and save it. Quote. Universe Overlord. Bother. How can this be considered a disturbance? This kind of battle is an eye-opener for me, and it also makes me know how many strong people there are in the 10,000 worlds. Yuki Asuna. Nolan, you really opened our eyes, how can this be considered a disturbance? Gambling Maniac. If it weren't for the 10,000 worlds chat group, we probably wouldn't even be able to imagine that this kind of battle would really happen in the world, let alone actually see it. Super Saiyan. Why don't you say you are so strong? Super Saiyan. Can you fight me, please? Sun Wukong was also a member who witnessed the battle throughout. He rubbed his hands. He was excited. He was eager to try. The battle just now was fierce. It was terrifying. It was also something Sun Wukong had never seen before. So far, even the god of destruction Beerus could not show such terrifying destructive power. But it was precisely because of this. Sun Wukong was so excited. He would not be scared just because the other party was scary. Not to mention that the other party was not an enemy, but a friend in the Wanji chat group. Fighting with people of this level. Just thinking about it made Sun Wukong very excited. It made Vegeta next to him look confused. What is Kakarot crazy about? Marvel's strongest elementary school student. No, I'm sleepy and need to sleep. Nolan knew. Once he was entangled by Sun Wukong. Then the follow-up would definitely continue. As long as he beat the other party. Every time the other party had a breakthrough in strength, he would come to find him again. He didn't want to be entangled. Forget it. Just use one hand to sleep. Then close the chat group. He didn't care about what happened outside the window and just slept. When he woke up, he didn't know what time it was. I'm a little hungry. Nolan touched his stomach. Walked out of his dormitory. Looked left and right, and found that there was no one around. You know, this is a dormitory. He didn't know how long he slept. Maybe it was because of energy consumption. So he slept for 2 or 3 days. Xavier College's studies and students must not be abandoned. After Norin personally restored the building to its original state. Those students were taken out one after another. It was still normal to go to class, go home, eat, and play. But in the past 2 days, the college obviously has less laughter. Norin walked downstairs. Only then did he find that it was not that there was no one. But there was no one on the floor where he lived in the dormitory. The rest were full. You can see many students walking around, talking to each other. But all this became silent after he arrived. All the discussions stopped abruptly. The students all looked at Norin. Their eyes were filled with fear. And after finding that Lorraine was also looking at them, they immediately lowered their heads. They began to walk around. I don't know what they are doing. In short, there was no sound of talking. Only the sound of walking. Are you so afraid of me? Nolan scratched his head. He knew that he probably scared these students a few days ago. After all, most of them were still young. They had never seen any serious battles. But he didn't care. Just as he said to Professor X. How could an elephant care about the discussions and strange looks of ants on the roadside? It's a bit ridiculous. You know, ordinary people also look at these mutant students with such eyes. But they don't understand why ordinary people are so resistant to mutants. Obviously, their actions have already given the answer. Nolan ignored them and went straight to the cafeteria to eat. On the other side, Professor X also knew the news that Nolan had woken up. Telepathy clearly felt that the peaceful Xavier College had become a turbulent place because of Nolan's awakening. Professor X sighed deeply. He suddenly began to doubt. Was his decision to accept Nolan to study at Xavier College correct? Although he still wanted Lorraine not to be the kind of person who didn't care about the ants around him as he said. But because Nolan had affected the entire Xavier College. There were countless students in the entire Xavier College. All of them were mutants. All of them needed Professor X's care and protection. It was impossible to ignore their feelings just because of Nolan. Otherwise, find a chance to send Nolan away. Quote. Beast was silent for a while. He said to Professor X. He didn't have the same grand ideas and dreams as Professor X. You know, his mutant ability was just a big foot. Later, he wanted to get rid of his mutant ability, at least in appearance. So he studied the potion. As a result, his whole body turned blue and he became the beast he is now. Therefore, for the dangerous Norlin, his first thought was to send him away. In order to protect the students of Xavier College. No. However, after thinking for a moment, the professor shook his head. There are many students in Xavier College, and Norlin is also a student. We can't give up on him. Beast wanted to refute. But Professor X's next sentence made him find no room for rebuttal. Do you want Norlin to grow freely in the outside world? With his ability, you know how much chaos the world will cause if it is not restrained and restricted. Don't you understand these days? During the 2 days when Norin was sleeping, Professor X, as the leader of Mutant, had always had a very close relationship with the human side. Politicians from various countries called one after another. They were just to ask what the vision was when Norin was fighting with Chin. Professor X naturally couldn't tell Norin about it. But to deal with these people, even if he had the telepathic ability, he felt exhausted. This made Professor X understand deeply that Norin must not be allowed to grow wild outside, and he must be guided as a good child. Beast was silent when he heard this. It was indeed the case. Now if Norin was expelled from Xavier College, then their Will College could get some peace for a while. But if Norin had some unexpected changes outside, it might not be a matter of Xavier College. It might turn into a problem for the whole world. Which matter was more serious? Beast also understood it in his heart. But because his team members became like this, he was still a little dissatisfied with Norin. X-Men, they are useless. Cyclops can't open his eyes. Storm is still very weak. Jean is even more so. Although his vital signs have been restored, he is still unconscious. It can be said that the pillars of these X-Men are useless. The only ones who are still capable of fighting are Professor X and Beast. What if there is a mission? They can't go on a mission. Beast was silent for a while and asked again. He didn't answer Professor X's question directly. But he also acquiesced to his way of dealing with it. You or I can do it. Aren't there a group of students who are undergoing combat training? Now is the time for them to go on the field. Professor X even thought of returning to the arena. Beast shook his head. Professor, you should stay in the academy. The students in the academy need you. I'll go and see how the students who have undergone special training are doing. How could he really let the disabled Professor X really go into battle in person? On the other side, John the fireman also learned the news that Noreen had woken up. You have to know that Norin is now a celebrity in the entire Xavier Academy. Once he wakes up, everyone will know about any slight movement. Not to mention that he is the one who pays special attention to Norin. He wakes up, will he come to me? Will he come to me? John's self-healing ability is not particularly strong. Therefore, after being thrown out by Lorraine last time, he is still recuperating in the Academy's infirmary. It has been less than half a month, and he can't get out of bed. Later, he heard many things from the students around him and knew that Norin had done such a big thing. It was even so big that it would be enough to shock the world if it was spread to the outside world. This is a single person against the entire X-Men. John dared not think about it before provoking Lorraine. Norin's strength is so strong. Otherwise, even if he was given 100, 1,000, or 10,000 brave men, he would not dare to provoke him. Now that he knows that Norin has woken up, John was filled with fear and panic. He even wanted to flee Xavier College quickly. He wanted to leave Norin quickly. Will he come to me? Will he cause trouble for me? Why? Why didn't the professor expel him from Xavier College? He made such a big mistake and caused such a big mess, why didn't he expel him from Xavier College? Fear spread in John's heart. He actually began to blame Professor X for not expelling Norin immediately. He even resented Professor X for this. It must be that the professor is too virtuous and doesn't want to expel him. Is he more important than me? Doesn't Professor X know that Norin will cause trouble for me? John's thoughts were very distorted. He didn't realize why Lorraine did these things from beginning to end. Why did he become like this? It was all because of his own reasons. I know that such a virgin guy can't be a good leader of mutant. Quote. I knew I shouldn't have enrolled in Xavier College. John covered his head and thought painfully. Fear caused his wounds to relapse again. The pain made him curl up on the hospital bed. He hated Professor X even more. He also hated Norin even more. No. Is it possible that it's all fake? The students who lied to me didn't like me, so they made up this lie. John's eyes lit up. He actually started to deceive himself. It seemed that he had found the most perfect explanation. Only in this way. Professor X would not choose to expel Norin, right? Professor X should not be so old and confused. Yes, it's very likely. Very likely. Didn't they say that the sky was torn apart? Didn't they say that most of the teaching buildings and dormitory buildings of Xavier College were destroyed? Why did everything look the same after I woke up, and there was no change at all? They really lied to me. The last two sentences. John was like hypnotic ability himself. Each word was heavier than the other. That's right, Norin is not that strong at all. But I still have to leave here. John would never admit that he was afraid of Norin. These people hate me so much. They told such a big lie to deceive me. Professor X didn't care, let the lie ferment, and let me stay here. Leave here. Find a greater leader. Follow the more correct leader. Oh. This idea took root in John's heart. And this also provided an opportunity for Mystique in the future. Norin's perception ability naturally grasped the conversation between the two and their thoughts. But he still ate leisurely. He didn't care at all. Even if they were going to tell their parents, he didn't care. He didn't plan to hide it in the first place. If it's exposed, then expose it. With his strength, I really don't know what will happen after it is exposed. As for the fireman John, Norin really didn't know what that guy was thinking. Because there was no need for Lorraine to care about it. It can be said that even if he knew, he wouldn't do anything. I can only laugh at Joker in my heart. On the other side. After such a long period of preparation, the Wanji chat group seems to have finally welcomed a new member. Yuki Asuna. I'm going to put on the helmet for the Sao game, family. Gambling maniac. Are you nervous, Asuna? Yuki Asuna. I was nervous before, but now that I have to put it on, I'm not nervous anymore. Deadpool. The little girl is right to think this way. The more you get to this point, the less nervous you should be, otherwise you'll make mistakes more easily. Deadpool occasionally blurts out a great truth, which shocks everyone. This is outrageous. Am I blind? How could Deadpool say such a thing? This is simply a refreshing change for them. Is this still Deadpool? Blood Demon. Blood Demon. Who are you? Who are you? Get off Deadpool. Deadpool. Gambling Maniac. I'm really sick. I never thought that one day I would say the same thing as Deadpool. Quote. Deadpool. My superpower 4.7 is money. Where did this come from? Is this still a chat group for the 10,000 worlds? I feel like I should be the one to say this. Deadpool. Deadpool. I'm not saying this, what do you mean? Little was madly asking questions. Deadpool. I've lived a long time and experienced a lot of things, so I can say one or two very correct truths. What's wrong with that? Deadpool. No, what I said is correct, and they are all truths. Gambling Maniac. Yeah, right. Quote. My super ability is money. Right. Deadpool. Deadpool. You are not cute at all. Deadpool. Asuna, do you think I am right? Yuki Asuna. Yes, what you said before is really right. There is no point in being nervous now. Deadpool. Isn't this sentence just avoiding the answer? Deadpool. I am going to break my defense. I really am going to break my defense. Deadpool. Strayer, my lovely stray. Little stray, are you there? Look at them, refute them. Pothead leader. Ah. How to refute? I don't know. Deadpool. Deadpool. I love you in vain. I love you in vain. I really love you in vain. Little Deadpool's defense was broken, and his defense was broken. Nezuko. It's okay, brother Wade, I believe you. Deadpool. Woo. Hearing this, little Deadpool actually cried directly in the group. So warm. Is this what it feels like to be exposed to the sun? Deadpool. My lovely Nezuko, you are simply a ray of light in my dark life. Gambling Maniac. Little Deadpool, you also know that your life is dark, I suggest you don't drag Nezuko into it. Deadpool. Deadpool. I mean it's you who made my life dark, don't misinterpret me okay? I am bright. Blood Demon. I feel like no one believes it. Little Deadpool is bright, this sentence will really make people who know Little Deadpool laugh. It can be said that Little Deadpool has nothing to do with the word light. He may have only had the word light when he was very small. 02. After his later mercenary career and after obtaining the mutant self-healing ability. He has nothing to do with the word light anymore. Even though he joined the X-Men for a short time later. He chose to leave because he was incompatible. Marvel's strongest elementary school student. Little, you come to me, you should know where I am. Let me see if you are so bright, okay. Deadpool. Why do I feel that what you said is so like abducting elementary school students, am I such a fool? Marvel's strongest elementary school student. Why? Do you think elementary school students are easy to fool? Please take a good look at my name and say it again. Deadpool. Hiss. Deadpool. Fool. Deadpool. Mistake, I'm not talking about you, Nolan. You have to understand me. Ding. Team leader of the Snowstorm group, join the chat group. Ding. Her Majesty, join the chat group. Deadpool. Newcomers have joined the group. Welcome, warm welcome, it's really welcome. Deadpool. Hello, newcomer, hurry up and report your name. Marvel's strongest elementary school student, can I understand that you are changing the subject? Gambling Maniac. Little. You are so abrupt in changing the subject, you must be scared by the newcomers in minutes. Yuki Asuna. Don't even think about it, it will happen. Fubuki team leader. There's a weirdo playing tricks on me. What is this? Her Majesty. Do giants have this ability, or has the core developed some new weapon that made me hallucinate? Blood Demon. Two newcomers are bubbling together, this is easy to deal with. Yuki Asuna. At Fubuki team leader, at Her Majesty, this is a chat group that connects the 10,000 worlds. We all come from different worlds. As for the Chengrin and giants you mentioned, although I don't know what they are, it is absolutely impossible to do it like the 10,000 worlds chat group. 1. Quote. Ding. Group member, Yuki Asuna, answered the newcomers' questions, and hereby awarded plus 20 points. Blood Demon. Wow, I didn't expect that Asuna would get it first. Universe Overlord. 20 points. Boros actually always felt that helping newcomers solve their questions was a matter of helping them solve their questions. Yeah, it's embarrassing. But in fact, after seeing the points being obtained several times, I thought it was nothing. Let's try next time. In order to become stronger, it's okay to lose face. Besides, I'm afraid only Boros felt ashamed. He usually holds himself too high. As a result, he thought it was embarrassing. In fact, other group members didn't think so at all. Deadpool. I'm ready to send it out. Why is it not me? Marvel's strongest elementary school student. I really want to tear you in half right now. And just as Yuki Asuna said, someone was indeed scared. That was Her Majesty. After all, when I came in, I saw the little going crazy. And then there was tearing it in half and so on. It sounds bloody. It's scary to think about it. These people. Are also weird. Gambling maniac. Wade is just that kind of person. He's a fool, otherwise we wouldn't call him a fool. Yuki Asuna. Fool, you better pray that the new guy won't be scared by you, otherwise we'll kill you. Leader of the Fubuki group. Ah. Ridiculous, how could I be scared by you? Stop teasing me, okay. Leader of the Fubuki group. Whatever you say is what it is. How can I believe it? Do you think I'm a fool? Gambling maniac. Well, this proves that in fact, the chat groups, answering questions, reward does not seem to require answering the newcomers, questions in the true sense, as long as you speak. The next step is another set of procedures to prove that the Wanji chat group is real. In fact, it is also very simple. It is nothing more than signing in to get points, and then using the points on yourself. When you feel the magical changes of the points, you have to believe it even if you don't believe it. The Wanji chat group is real. Deadpool. Newcomer, if you don't even believe in the Wanji chat group, what else can you believe? My evaluation is a fool, I'm too lazy to spray. Blood Demon. Oh. Who was the one who shouted that he didn't believe it when he first joined the group? Little. Stop. 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 There are newcomers here, can you give me some face? There were a lot of people outside just now, and I'm kneeling down for you now. Quote. Fubuki looked at the virtual screen in front of her. Believe it. It seems impossible. After all, the chat group of all worlds. It is really hard to believe if you tell it to others. Don't believe it. But it seems to be true. Don't look at how arrogant she is. In fact, she is still a little skeptical. Then do you want to try it? Fubuki's super ability is psychokinesis. To be honest, she is not bragging. She thinks that the only person in the world who has better psychokinesis than her is her sister. And the basis of psychokinesis is mental power. People with strong mental power. It is difficult to be invaded by the brain. My sister should not be bored enough to play this kind of word game with me. Oh, no. It's not that she shouldn't. She definitely won't. Ding. Congratulations to group member, Fubuki group leader, for the first successful sign-in, bonus points +2, first double, bonus points +4. Ding. Congratulations to group member, Her Majesty the Queen, for the first successful sign-in, bonus points +4, first double, bonus points +8. Fubuki group. Ahem, sorry, I just said something I didn't try to say, please don't mind, it's my problem. Deadpool. You were so arrogant just now, why are you not arrogant now? I want to see you continue to be arrogant. My super ability is to have money. At Deadpool, be careful recently, I am studying how to suppress your self-healing gene, maybe I will use it on you another day. Deadpool. Deadpool. No. Don't do that kind of thing. 683. Bruce kept his word. This is the consensus of many people in the group. If they really figured it out, Wade could really kneel down to Bruce on the spot. Gambling maniac. Next time a new person joins the group, can you ban Wade first? I always feel that letting him speak is a bit embarrassing for the chat group. Yuki Asuna. It's hard not to support him. Yuki Asuna. At Fubuki team leader, don't pay attention to Deadpool. You should have been able to see that this guy is like this when you first joined the group. Fubuki team leader. Ah. I don't mind. After all, I was arrogant just now. I didn't understand the whole picture and made comments without thinking. Fubuki is undoubtedly arrogant at ordinary times. But now, it's better to be a little timid. Arrogant as she is. She is not a fool. Fubuki team leader. Hello everyone, my name is Fubuki. Her Majesty the Queen. Hello, my name is Historia. It is indeed Fubuki. In fact, the moment Fubuki entered the chat group of the 10,000 Worlds, Nolan had already guessed her identity. After all, she is the leader of the Fubuki group. This name is right there. It is so easy to guess. As for the other group member, she is called Her Majesty the Queen. She is the hardest one to guess. After all, she didn't talk much after entering. And there are so many female members who are queens in the 10,000 Worlds. Just think about it and you will find a lot. Don't even mention 10 fingers. You can't even count them with your hair. But after introducing herself, her identity is also obvious. The retreating dwarf. The attitudes of these two people are really very good. Therefore, no one bothered with Fubuki's behavior at the beginning. Instead, they all started to introduce themselves very enthusiastically. Even the lurking Sun Wukong and Kageyama Shigeo. They all showed their heads and became familiar faces. Definitely. Except for the arrogant universe overlord Boros. Nezuko, Sister Historia, what kind of queen are you? You sound so powerful. Her Majesty the Queen. Ah. What queen? I don't know. Why am I called this name? I'm not afraid of being laughed at by everyone. I'm just an ordinary soldier. Blood Demon. That's strange. Could the 10,000 Worlds chat group still make mistakes? Then I'm going to laugh at the 10,000 Worlds chat group. Deadpool. It must be the 10,000 Worlds chat group that made a mistake. I said it long ago that it will definitely have problems. My super ability is to be rich. What a joke. Even if you two die, the 10,000 Worlds chat group will not have any problems. Quote. My super ability is to be rich. I can only say that Historia is not the queen now, but she may be the queen in the future. Yuki Asuna. If that's the case, then it's indeed possible. Blood Demon. If that's the case, then there may be a queen in our 1G chat group. Deadpool. Wow, the queen. To be honest, I haven't seen the queen yet. See you, Her Majesty, hail hail 1G hail. The queen. The queen. Stop kidding, I'm really not the queen, I'm just a very, very ordinary person. Yuki Asuna. Little fool, you scared me again. Gambling maniac. It's a pity that there is no administrator in the 1G chat group. If there is an administrator, I will propose to ban Little Fool for 24 hours, at least for the newcomers who just joined the group. Quote. Yuki Asuna. Support. Blood Demon. Support. Gambling maniac. Okay, two newcomers, introduce your world. Or something else. I seem to have seen the saying of monsters and giants just now. Nolan looked at Historia who introduced the giants and Fubuki who introduced the monsters in the 1G chat group. I couldn't help but think of the plot of the giant world in the previous life. The plot of Attack on Titan is not particularly complicated. The early stage revolved around regaining the territory inside the wall. And to find out the spies who can turn into giants inside the wall. The mother of the protagonist Alan was eaten by a giant in the early stage. Later, the story began to turn to the intrigues between countries. In the later stage, on the internet, Alan, the protagonist, was called a filial son by everyone. So why is Alan called a filial son? This has to do with the abilities of the founding Titan in the Attack on Titan. Only the royal family can exert the full power of the founding Titan. For example, it can control other intelligent Titans. If the royal family does not inherit the founding Titan, there is no way to control them. The origin of all these things. It was in a certain incident. The royal family gave the descendants of the founding Titan a curse, called Oath of No War. The Eldians huddled in Parody Island and closed their country. They must never go to war with the outside world forever. Even if the other side attacks. Because that king believed that it was normal for Eldia to be extinct. But this oath of no war only works among the royal family. After all, only the royal family can use the ability of the founding Titan. Such as commanding all Titans, etc. Coincidentally, the ability of the attack Titan is freedom. Not controlled by the founding Titan. Uren's father is a user of the attack Titan. Eat the royal family. Inherit the power of the founding Titan. Then let himself be eaten by Uren and passed it to Uren. This unlocks the bug of the Oath of No War. As long as a founding Titan heir who is not a royal family comes into contact with another royal intelligent Titan, you can bypass the Oath of No War. Use the ability of the founding titan. Eren. He has the same father as him, but a different mother. His mother is the older brother of the royal family. Zeke, the heir of the beast titan, just meets this condition. So a series of subsequent events happened. At this point, everything seems normal. So why is Eren called a filial son? Because of another ability of the attack titan. The founding titan can see the past of all Eldians. The attack titan can allow the previous attack titan successor to see the memory of the next generation successor. Alan's father was originally a kind doctor. He did not want to eat the original titan and kill the royal family. Until the memory of Alan appeared in his mind. It was as if Alan whispered in his ear, constantly provoking him with all kinds of words. Finally, he ate the founding titan and had a mental breakdown after that. Because when Alan was provoked, he really didn't leave any room for his father. The memory of his sister being bitten to death by a dog when he was a child kept echoing. And then the death of his mother later. It was Alan who personally used the power of the founding titan. Controlled the titan to eat his mother. Because he had to make sure that his young self would follow the path he envisioned. Forced his father to kill. Caused his mental breakdown and howling. Personally controlled the titan to kill his mother who once said, "As long as you are born, you are great." Alan is indeed a great filial son. But this filial son is a derogatory term. And at the moment everyone also understood the general worldview of the Historia world. After listening to it, Deadpool directly and accurately poked it. The so-called wall, isn't that just feeding yourself? It's a bit ridiculous. And Historia didn't have any chance to refute. Because she knew in her heart that what Deadpool said was true. Yuki Asuna. Shut up. This was the first time Asuna spoke in such a strong tone. Because she was really angry. It was already miserable. Does the little fool want to hit him again? Gambling maniac. Little foe, you can say it was a joke before, but this time you really went too far and poked people in the heart. In fact, after he finished speaking, Wade realized something was wrong. Deadpool. Sorry, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean any harm, everyone knows it. Her Majesty. No, I know that's the truth, I just said it. Her Majesty. But, to be honest, if it goes on as you said, it's not impossible, but, God doesn't always do what we want. Her Majesty. Humanity only has so much territory, but a 60-meter-tall giant appeared and broke through a city wall, causing humans to lose 1/3 of their leaders directly. Now many refugees are homeless. Her Majesty. Later, even if the authorities organized the refugees and launched a war to recapture them, it still didn't help. Deadpool. Seriously, if the giants really can't do anything to even well-trained soldiers, then what's the use of these refugees? It feels like sending them out to die after the shortage of supplies, cleaning up a group of useless people. Her Majesty. Her Majesty. That's right. History aside deeply. She is very smart. Naturally, she can think of the officials' thoughts. And this is the fact. Relying on this group of refugees who don't even have a three-dimensional maneuvering device and can't use it to retake the wall. I'm afraid they didn't even think about it. They were just sent out to die. They were specially selected for the old, weak, sick and disabled. Because the young people are still useful. Yuki Asuna. Little fool, you don't know how to talk, so you really don't need to say it, right? Deadpool. Sorry, I shut up. I really shut up now. Her Majesty. Ah. Super Saiyan. Poor child, if possible, I can help Historia later. Super Saiyan. Are the giants strong? Marble's strongest elementary school student, King Qian. What's strong? Not strong at all. Asuna and Meng's modern worldview weapons are overwhelmed. Yuki Asuna. Huh. Gambling maniac. Really? Marble's strongest elementary school student. Would I lie to you? Bruce can kill those giants miserably with any weapon he takes out. Quote. My super ability is money. I thought I couldn't do anything, but now it seems that I can. Her Majesty. Huh. Looking at the sudden change in the style of the painting. Historia was slightly stunned. What does it mean? Team leader of the Fubuki team. Doesn't that mean that I can also help? Marble's strongest elementary school student, without a doubt. The question mark on Historia's head deepened. Her Majesty. Huh. Her Majesty. So, easy. As long as you have experienced it, you won't say it's easy, right? Unless they are not from their own world, things. Histria could never imagine it. The difficulty of what they tried. Others don't even have any difficulty at all. Are the giants that weak? In fact, even they couldn't think of it. Is it true? The descriptions of Norin and Historia just now made them feel that the giants were a very, very terrifying species. But now they were told that even the modern weapons in their world could easily defeat them alone. So they couldn't help but be a little bit unbelievable. Norin also knew that, after all, the plot of the world of giants is still quite complicated. It's really difficult for them to accept that this world is actually very weak. So he just put a video on it. The video was probably a playback of the giant being killed by the three-dimensional mobile device. As soon as the video came out, these people were stunned. No. Titans. That's it. Deadpool. That's all. Very weak. Very weak. Really looks very weak. My super ability is money. That's true, normal modern technology can easily kill titans. Yuki Asuna. Gambling maniac. I didn't expect it to be so weak. Fubuki team leader. If it's only this level, it can't even beat ordinary monsters, then can't I help Historia? Her Majesty the Queen. Histria was confused. How could it be true? She watched the video and thought the titans were very strong. Why do people think the titans are weak? Questioning life. Marvel's strongest elementary school student. By the way, Historia, you have to pay a little attention to Ren. Her Majesty the Queen. Why? Marvel's strongest elementary school student. You'll know when 080, he's a filial son. After that, Nolan began to explain about Aren. One by one. List them all out. My super ability is to be rich. It's a very complicated worldview. Alan, this little beast, drove his father crazy and killed his mother with his own hands. Bruce clenched his fists tightly after watching the whole process. There is an indescribable anger burning in his heart. As a child who lost his parents since childhood, he has longed for fatherly and motherly love since he was very young. Even now, he still misses his father and mother very much. It's impossible to imagine how Alan can do these things with this mentality. If it were him, even if he didn't make such a choice, he could only have a 0.1% or even 0.01% chance of winning. He would still give it a try. Instead of directly choosing to cause irreversible harm to his parents. If Alan's parents were that kind of bad parents, it would be fine. But obviously not. Alan's mother, he even loves Alan so much that he can say that he is great just by being born in this world. His father also loves Alan very much. So after seeing Alan's behavior, Bruce's anger is simply hard to suppress. He wants to rush into the world of giants. He will immediately give Alan a solid set of military boxing. Let him know that parents are the best in the world. Gambling maniac. Oh my god, no wonder Norin said he is a filial son, this kid is really a filial son. The sarcasm is max, just pull ACDE, full. Gambling maniac. It turned out to be such an ending. When I first watched it, I was still pitying Alan, I didn't expect that he would be such a beast. Blood demon. Humans can do such terrible things, haha. As a demon, Peva actually has no moral values at all. But, he was also scared by Alan's actions. Yuki Asuna. It's unreasonable. How could you do such a thing? Your mother loves you very much. Yuki Asuna is just an ordinary person, with a father and mother who love her. I can't understand Alan's train of thought at all. Super Saiyan. For the so-called freedom, Alan has gone crazy. Blood demon. Before the final ending, I was just a yepai, but what happened in the end? Destroy the world. You're still saying, don't do this kind of thing. It's embarrassing. Marvel's strongest elementary school student. Be angry. Hee. Nezuko. You drove your father crazy and indirectly killed your mother. Unforgivable. Jane. It's too. Deadpool. Nezuko, you little girl have a small vocabulary, you beast, right? Nezuko. Right. Her Majesty. I didn't expect it, I didn't expect Alan to be such a person. Histria's 3 views. Exploded. The things in the chat group came to an end for the time being. And the time on Norin's side. It was already night. He went to sleep. He used his telepathy to radiate Xavier Academy a little. And found that the fireman John's figure disappeared. Where did he go? Norin was too lazy to look for him. Otherwise, it would only take him a few seconds to find the fireman John. However, there was really no need. Just last night, John's wounds had not healed yet. But, he resolutely chose to leave that night. He couldn't stay in Xavier Academy for even a second. John had already used his hypnotic ability successfully. Now he felt that the entire Xavier Academy was deceiving him. Professor X was indifferent. The anger and frustration in his heart made him want to leave all the time. So he simply chose the night when the idea came up. He didn't feel frustrated at all. It was just that he might feel a little uncomfortable physically. This afternoon, Beast actually came to see him. After all, John's personality was not very good. Not many people liked him in the academy. But his fighting ability was still much stronger than those people. The only weakness was that if there was no fire around, he couldn't control and amplify the flame. But if he kept holding a lighter, then even Beast would probably find it difficult to get close to him. So he was selected by Beast as a member of the Reserve X-Men. The other person's character is something that needs to be seriously considered. Definitely Beast has also thought about it. X-Men is not just one person. It is a team. If there is one person who is not good, it can be regarded as polluting the name of X-Men. So not only combat training is needed, ideological training is also very necessary. He and Professor X are quite confident in ideological training. Therefore, John was not particularly concerned about it. However, this made John even more angry. What's wrong with the people in Xavier Academy? A large group of students don't like him. And Professor X, as a leader, did nothing. Now he wants to join X-Men to help them do things. Is there such a good thing in the world? It feels like he is just a link used by them. If he is useful, he will be pulled over to use. If he is useless, he will not care about being bullied by others. Xavier Academy is very quiet at night. It is reasonable that there will be teachers to patrol or observe the surroundings. It's just because of Norland's incident. Many X-Men were useless. Currently, the students who are capable of fighting are also in emergency training. So he can even leave directly through the main gate. But just to be safe, John still endured the pain and found a loophole in the wall of Xavier College. Prepare to leave here. I want to follow a more correct leader. Instead of staying in this small place and being a waste. This thought made John temporarily ignore the pain in his body. Gritting his teeth, just as he was about to leave. But he heard the sound of a wheelchair. He quickly turned his head and looked. He saw a big bald head that looked very shiny in the moonlight. He appeared in front of him in a wheelchair. Yes, this person is Professor X. In an instant, John, who was originally full of hatred, suddenly wilted. Standing there like a primary school student who made a mistake. At the same time, his heart was full of regret. Yes. Professor X's ability is telepathy. I think so much. Whatever I want to do, he must know. He actually wanted to sneak away under the nose of such a person. How could it be possible? Kid, it's so late, what are you doing here? Professor X still had a kind smile on his face. No, I'm just taking a walk. As soon as he said this, John regretted it again. What a joke. He was facing Professor X. Lying didn't exist in front of him. He slapped his head. His face changed directly. He became very angry. I don't want to stay in Xavier College anymore. I want to leave here. I recognize your leadership ability. But the direction you led is not what I like. I hope you can let me go now, otherwise I will only cause trouble for you in your college. What John said at this time was very reasonable and well-founded. His thoughts were very clear. His expression was also very clear. Professor X's expression suddenly changed. You are on the wrong path. What is the wrong path? John said in a deep voice, it's just that we chose different directions. You go your bright road, I go my single plank bridge. How can it be considered as going astray? If you don't let me go, don't force me to do it. He took out a lighter from his pocket. There was a click. The flame was very obvious in the dark. John's face was red under the illumination of the flame. His expression was very serious. However, at the moment, Professor X actually stood up directly from the wheelchair and grabbed his wrist. He easily took the lighter away. Caught off guard, John was directly shocked. He wanted to take the lighter back from him. However, Professor X was extremely agile. He easily pinned him to the ground with a few easy grabs. At this moment, John also understood. You are not the professor. Who are you? Who are you? John's head was pressed into the mud. He tried desperately to raise his head. He looked very angry. Kid, you are really interesting. Professor X smiled. A touch of charm appeared on his old face. Then he let John go. He stood up. The skin on his body quickly flipped like feathers and armor, covering the original skin. In this way, a woman covered in blue appeared in front of John. You are. John's eyes widened immediately. He looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Although he had never seen this person in front of him. But he was very familiar. Or in other words, there was no one in the entire mutant group who didn't know his name. Mystique. Without a doubt. It was Mystique. It looks like you know me. Mystique smiled slightly. She held out her hand. John held out his hand stupidly. Mystique gently pulled him. Then he stood up. It turned out to be Mystique, not Professor. John let out a long sigh in his heart. How could he know that Professor X would have to pay attention to Jean's injury every day? Want to see if Jean could wake up. How could he have the energy to use telepathy to pay attention to the students of Xavier College? All these things were actually handed over to Beast to deal with. What you said just now is very correct. I don't like Charles's leadership style either. So who is the right leader you want to choose? Mystique looked at John's thoughtful look. Smiled again. Asked directly. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. John raised his head and immediately said excitedly, Magneto. Definitely Magneto. Magneto is the most correct leader in my mind. Mutant Brotherhood is also the organization I have always longed for. In fact, before this incident happened, he had already longed for Magneto. His personality is not suitable for Xavier College. Now this happened. Then he wanted to hang out with Magneto even more. And now he met Mystique. John naturally tried his best to show his support for Magneto. He wanted to see if he could be brought to Magneto by Mystique. As long as you support us, you are brothers. This sentence is definitely just nonsense to win people's hearts. No one will really take it seriously. If Mystique hadn't turned into Professor X and questioned John just now, she wouldn't have been able to show her closeness to John so easily. Then can I join you? John asked more excitedly. He felt that his victory was just around the corner. Definitely, Mutant Brotherhood welcomes all like-minded brothers. Mystique opened her arms to welcome him. But soon, as if she just remembered it, she asked, You just came out of Xavier College. Then you should know everything that happened in Xavier College during this period. I know, I definitely know, and it has a lot to do with me. John nodded frantically. That's good. Magneto is very interested in what happened in Xavier College recently. If you can provide it, I believe you can better integrate into our big family. Mystique is an old hand at fooling people. Every day, she changes into a different look and negotiates with different people. Naturally, she knows how to deal with John, a young and inexperienced person who has just entered the society. Don't worry, I will definitely tell you everything I know. Sure enough. John kept nodding. In that case, then leave with me. Quote. Mystique glanced at Xavier College before she left. She was a little confused. Is Xavier College's defense so weak? She was here. But no one showed up. Or rather, it was possible for John, a little guy, to slip out of Xavier College. It seemed that something had really happened. After a night of traveling, John finally saw Magneto himself. He had short silver hair and deep eyes. He wore a tights with red and purple elements, and metal decorations on the clothes, such as metal plates and chains. He also wore a cape. Definitely, the most indispensable thing is one of Magneto's most famous symbols. His helmet. This helmet is called a brain wave suppressor. It can protect him from attacks by telepathy, such as Professor X. When he saw Magneto himself, John was excited, but he didn't show it directly. Mainly because he was afraid of being looked down upon by Magneto. Magneto glanced at the young man. Then he looked at him again. Mystique. The tacit understanding that the two had developed from their early years until now made him understand Mystique's approach and ideas. He smiled and said, This is the little brother who wants to join us. He started with a sentence, "I have known you for a long time and I am paying attention to you." This immediately made John a little unable to control himself. "Yes, it's me." Then there was a series of very old-fashioned polite words. But people like John are very fond of this. At the very end, Magneto finally said what he wanted to know most. Some time ago, what happened in Xavier College? The surroundings seemed to suddenly become quiet at this moment. Magneto and Mystique stared at John. This made him a little overwhelmed. I know, I will tell you bit by bit." Quote. Obviously. John couldn't honestly tell the whole story from beginning to end. He simply ignored why he had a conflict with Norrin's uncle. Instead, he said that he just wanted to communicate with Norrin. The result led to Norrin's attack. He was very disdainful of the things that happened later. After all, he thought that those things were just lies made up by Xavier College to exclude him. Definitely. John still said it. Because he felt that by saying this, Magneto and Mystique could feel his loyalty. After all, that group of people were excluding him. There was no way out when he came here. So they would definitely let him join them, right? After listening to what John said, Magneto and Mystique looked at each other. An indescribable curiosity arose in their hearts about Norrin. They definitely wouldn't be stupid enough to think that those things were used to deceive themselves like John. You know, the scene of the space shattering that day was all over half of the Earth. Countless people saw it. How could it be fake? Mystique thought. No wonder Xavier Academy's defense has become so weak. It turns out that it is not weak, but simply useless. We know, you are tired after coming all the way here. Let's go down and rest first. John wanted to say that he was not tired, but was still taken down by Mystique. Not long after, Mystique came back and reunited with Magneto. The two looked at each other again. After a moment of silence. I am really a little jealous of Charles. Magneto exhaled. Nolan is his name. Xavier Academy really has all the heroes in the world. Mystique smiled at the moment and said, from what John described, didn't you find that Nolan had no sense of belonging to X-Men and Xavier Academy, or even a good impression? How could it be possible not? King Vance instantly showed a wave of face-changing skills, with a confident smile on his face. Charles, if you can't grasp it, then Nolan, let me grasp it. Thanks for watching.